I'm in the Kumon waiting room, and if you've ever run into Kumon, it's a tutoring program that teaches kids to do math quickly. Long term, it served my son really well. Short term, it was a bit challenging for me. And it's one of the most interesting logos I've ever seen. Look it up if you're interested. Tell me what you think in the comments below. This particular afternoon, the waiting room, it's tiny and it's cold outside. So there's about 15 or 20 moms packed in, most of them a head shorter than I am, and I'm 6'2", and one tall, gangly white guy, top of the heap, and that's me. And there's a window in the classroom where the kids are at their desks, all heads down, working diligently, and my son comes out. And I want to be clear, comes out, doesn't capture it. He swaggered out. He looked at me and he says, "Hey, Dad, guess what? I failed 16 times. I gave him a high five. He came up, got the high five. Great. Let's go out and have some yogurt. There's a frozen yogurt place that was always the treat after Kumon. We left. But I tell you what, every mom in that room looked at me with the death stare. Next time I came in, I noticed something. There wasn't quite enough room in the little waiting area. Everyone had taken up slightly more space that time before. They didn't want me in there. I'm Camper, I'm the fractional CMO, and I founded Venture Gain. And I get it. The kid had failed at math, and the dad in the back of the room was high-fiving him about it. But here's what they missed. You don't learn anything from getting everything right. You only learn when something actually becomes an issue. That insight followed me into business in a very specific way. Long before Venture Gained, I worked as a project manager on a multi-million-dollar project launches. One of the things I did every single time was build a risk matrix. Sit down with a team, list every single thing that could go wrong, rate each one for likelihood and impact, and then for each high likelihood, high impact item, build the response plan before it happened. So when something inevitably did go wrong on the big launches, and something always does, we already had the solution. It was one of those ways I improved my business on a regular basis. Not hiding from risk, not hiding from failure, recognizing failure is the most important thing we have to actually generate the kind of business we believe in. The difference between a kid who fails 16 problems and learns to do math quickly, and a kid who never fails because nobody let him try, is exactly the difference between a launch that ships through 3 crises and a launch that gets blindsided by the first one. Most companies say they learn from their mistakes. Most companies, in my experience, don't. Amy Edmondson at Harvard Business School has spent a career studying what she calls psychological safety. One of her central findings is this: companies don't lack failures. Every company has them. What companies lack is the ability to talk about them honestly enough to extract lessons before the next one hits. The default culture in most businesses isn't let's debrief and learn, it's blame, or worse, silence. When something goes wrong in the meeting, it becomes about whose fault was it. The person responsible defends themselves. The leader looks for someone to point at. Nobody actually figures out what happened. The structural reason it happened, the gap in the system, the missing playbook, the assumptions that turned out to be wrong never get surfaced. So same failure shows up again and again in slightly different clothes 3 months later. Nobody recognizes it. That's the most expensive failure of all, the one you've already paid for once and are about to pay for again. But Camper, you might say, that's fine in a small business with a healthy culture. What about a corporate environment where blame is the default? You can't just walk into and announce, let's all celebrate our failure now. Well, you're right, you can't. But you can do the thing in front of you. Run the debrief on your team with the 3 direct reports. After the next thing that goes sideways, but don't announce it as a cultural change. Don't make it a memo. Just sit down and ask 3 questions. After any noticeable friction, a missed deadline, a launch that fell short, a client who churned, a hire that didn't work, a tool that bit you? Sit down for 15 minutes and answer these 3 questions. Question number 1, what actually happened in chronological order with as little interpretation as possible? Just the facts. 2, what's the structural reason this happened? Not who's to blame. What was missing in the system that allowed this to happen? And 3, what's the one process change, template, or decision rule we'll put in place so this can never occur the same way again? Then write it down, somewhere where your team can find it, somewhere where you find it in 3 months from now when something feels familiar. 15 minutes, 3 questions. The output isn't a feeling, it's a playbook entry, a new line in your operating manual, a new decision rule, a new template, a new line item in your checklist. Every painful incident becomes a process improvement process and possibly a project. We shouldn't punish failures we can learn from. We punish hiding them. Before we wrap up, 3 things to take away from this. 1, you don't learn anything from getting everything right. You only learn when something becomes an issue. So having more issues, captured clarity is an asset. 2, the default culture in most businesses is blame or silence. The cure isn't a memo, it's a 15-minute debrief. Run on your own team after the next thing that goes sideways. And 3, the output of a debrief is a playbook entry, a new decision rule, not a feeling, not a vow to do better, the specific change in how the work runs. If you want a 15-minute failure debrief, 3 questions, a fillable template that takes about 10 minutes after the next thing that goes sideways and turns it into something a company can actually use, it's in the description and pinned to the comments below in the episode. What I'd love you to do is pick the most recent thing that went sideways in your business. Last week, last month, last quarter, doesn't matter how big. Don't write down whose fault it was. Write down what was missing in the system that allowed it to happen. Then write one rule, one template, one checklist line that would have caught it. And that's the debrief. Put the structural lesson, not the blame, in the comments below. What was missing in your system that you only saw because something else failed? Let's continue this conversation and let's all learn from each other. I look forward to talking to you soon. Camper.
Thanks for tuning into today's episode on the strategy session, where we take your business from stuck to unstoppable. Here's another video I think you'd enjoy. If you found these insights valuable, remember to hit the like button, subscribe to our channel, and ring the bell for notifications on our latest videos. Remember, you're not just marketing, you're making history with Venture Gained.